Hello, everyone, and I welcome you all to the new chapter from your Science 2, that is Life Processes in Living Organism, Part 1. Now, this chapter we will see in three different videos. Okay, so today, the first video in this, we will be only talking about the life process and the respiration, the cellular respiration, which is the most complex and very important part of this chapter. So, that we are going to see today. Now, life processes are many, like starting from respiration, that is inhalation and exhalation of oxygen, to the digestion, excretion, reproduction, circulation, maintaining the coordination. This all are the life processes that all happens from starting to end, from day to night, continuously 24/7, right? We don't know even that these all things are happening, and for doing all these things that is happening inside our organ, inside internal organs which are performed, so they require energy. Now, how this energy is given to them? The energy is given or supplied by the food we take. Now, food we take are of various categories, right? They are the nutrients. For example, your carbohydrates, your protein, fats, vitamins, minerals, etc. Now, these nutrition helps us to give the energy to the body for doing the work, right? Now, how they do it, how when we consume roti, how it supplies energy. So what happens inside our body, that we are going to study today. Now, for your information, I would like to have just give you one information of this, that per gram of carbohydrate gives you 4 kilocalorie of energy. Now, energy basically, the carbohydrates, we know that there are many forms of carbohydrates: glucose, fructose, lactose, sucrose, so cellulose. These all are the form of glucose, but here we will be talking about the glucose. Now, glucose is made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Carbon of 6 atom, hydrogen 12 and oxygen 6. That's why the glucose is C6H12O6. Now, this glucose is broken down and the energy is formed, but all the energy is not utilized because we tend to consume more food than we actually need it, right? So where this excess of energy will get stored? It will get stored in our body in the form of glycogen, okay, and mostly it is stored in our muscles and liver. So whenever your body is going in hunger or is going in a scarcity of energy or ATP, so this glycogen starts to break down and hence you get the energy from that stored food. What about plants? Plants to make their own food through the process of photosynthesis. The raw material they use is sunlight, carbon dioxide and water. So they produce the food. Now they also have the extra food that is stored in their roots, stems, leaves, fruits, etc. So breaking down of food or the nutrient is called as respiration. Okay, for till now you were knowing that inhalation of oxygen and exhalation of carbon dioxide is respiration. So I'll take you further from here, that after doing this oxygen which reaches our body and blood, so it oxidizes the nutrient with the help of oxygen. Okay, so this is known as respiration. It is a cellular breakdown of the nutrient into energy and other byproducts. Respiration happens at two levels: body level and cellular level. Body level meaning it starts from your nostril, trachea, bronchi, it goes. So that is all body level. If oxygen has reached to the cell and there it starts showing its function, breaking down of nutrient, then it is cellular level. Okay, so inside the cell whatever is happening, that is cellular level, and the external organ whatever the oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange is happening, that is at body level. Now cellular respiration can be of two type: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration where there is a unlimited supply of oxygen, okay, meaning the amount of oxygen is sufficient, so the normal procedure will follow of breaking down of the nutrient to give the energy. What if our body is in deficient of oxygen? So when we have deficiency of oxygen, when we do exercise, when we run, when we go on like in some condition where oxygen is the sufficient amount of oxygen our body is not getting, right? So that is why when you walk fast or when you run, you tend to breathe faster, because you want more and more oxygen to come inside. So that is the condition, anaerobic condition. So in that condition the body breaks down the nutrient into ATP, but the other byproducts are also something else, okay, that we will tell. So the byproducts are the end products, the end products. Along with the ATP we also generate carbon dioxide and water as a byproduct of respiration. So in anaerobic type of respiration the byproducts will be little different, that we will talk about. So let's start our cellular respiration, student, with the glucose molecules. It is a 3-step process. The first process is glycolysis, second is tricarboxylic acid or Krebs cycle, and third is electron transport chain. Now one by one we will discuss. So the first step in the cellular respiration is glycolysis. Now before that I will tell you the place where this all will happen. Okay, so I told you it is a 3-step process: glycolysis, tricarboxylic acid, or I can say TCA cycle. It is also known as Krebs cycle. TCA or Krebs cycle is the same thing. And the third one is ETC, that is electron transport chain. Now the first step, glycolysis, happens in cytoplasm of the cell, and the other 2 steps happens in the mitochondria. You remember till now you were studying mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. So yes, you are going to study why it is called as powerhouse of the cell today. Okay, so let's start glycolysis. Now the glycolysis, the glucose is the main reactant or the product that cell has. Okay, so how many atoms of carbon it has? 6. Now the main step that here happens is breaking down of glucose into 3 molecules of 3 atom of carbon, that is pyruvate. Okay, now glucose is broken down into 3 atom of carbon. Okay, glucose is 6 atom and pyruvate is 3 atom. So 2 molecules of pyruvate will form. That means 3 plus 3, 6. Now here there is no need of oxygen. Okay, glycolysis doesn't have the need of oxygen, and it is believed that in making of glucose, in making of pyruvate from glucose, ATP is used here. Some energy is used here. Okay, now along with the making of pyruvate, we have the end product is pyruvate, which is a 3 molecules of carbon, which is a usable form that will be taken in further step, and that will be used for generating more and more ATP. So at the end of this glycolysis, we have the products: 2 molecules of pyruvate, 2 molecules of ATP, and 2 molecules of NADH. Now what is NADH? It is a coenzyme, okay, and it will help in the transportation of electron that we'll study in the third step, that is electron transport chain. For now, you just remember 2 molecules of pyruvate, 2 molecules of ATP and 2 NADH is formed at the end of glycolysis. And where all this is happening? In the cytoplasm. Now the second step, which is TCA or the Krebs cycle, it will enter the pyruvate and ATP and NADH will enter inside the mitochondria now. Okay, now this pyruvate, which is a usable form of carbon, will be again converted into acetyl coenzyme A. Okay, and this acetyl coenzyme A, this formation requires oxygen. So this all step now it will happen in the presence of oxygen, directly, indirectly. Along with forming of acetyl coenzyme A, carbon dioxide is released. Now this acetyl coenzyme A will again be oxidized by oxygen to give rise to more of carbon dioxide, 2 molecules of ATP, 6 molecules of NADH and 2 molecules of FADH. So again a new thing, FADH has come here. FADH is also like a coenzyme as NADH is, which helps in the transport of electrons in electron transport chain that we will study in third step. So the end of the TCA or Krebs cycle, we have CO2 as a end product, CO2, 2 molecules of ATP, 6 molecules of NADH and 2 molecules of FADH. Till now, I hope it is clear for all of you. Now comes the third step, that is electron transport chain or ETC. Okay, it also happens in the mitochondria, on the membrane of mitochondria. Okay, now it is little complicated process. And you don't have to study in deep, you will study in higher classes. Now what happens here basically is this NADH and FADH, which is formed in the previous steps, that helps that transport the electron through the membrane. Okay, and these electron passes from the protein. Proteins are embedded in the membrane of the mitochondria. So these electron, which is supplied by NADH and FADH, passes through the membrane through this protein carrier, and while doing this, the electron is transported from high energy state to low energy state. Okay, so if electrons are going from high energy state to low energy state, it is releasing enormous amount of energy. Okay, and this energy is captured and hence the ATP is formed. Now doing all these things, there is one very important enzyme that take place in capturing and making of the end product, that is ATP, is ATP synthase. Okay, ATP synthase is also a protein which is embedded in the membranes of the mitochondria, and when the electrons are moving from high energy state to low energy state, thereby releasing the energy, this energy is utilized and captured so that the more and more amount of ATP is produced. So if you compare with the 3 step, the most amount of ATP which is produced will happen in this step, that is ETC step, electron transport chain. Alright student, now it is believed that that around 32 to 34 molecules of ATP is formed in this step. It is not fixed, it is an approximate value. Every research, every study has different value. It is not like easy to tell that specifically this much of ATP is released. Okay, now if you compare the 2 ATP from the first step and 2 ATP from the second step, we also, so that makes the total of 38 ATP. Okay, 2 plus 2 plus 34, that makes the 38 ATP, which is also not fixed. It is like somewhere 36 also it is written. Okay, so it is believed that when pyruvate is glucose is getting converted into pyruvate, there some ATP is utilized. So that is why 36 ATP, not 38 ATP. So basically you don't have to go in deep, only you have to understand the 3 steps and the end product of each step. So I will just summarize this. First step, that was glycolysis, where the glucose is broken down into 3 molecules of carbon, that is known as pyruvate. So how many molecules of pyruvate? 2 molecules. Okay, along with that we had 2 ATP plus 2 NADH. In second step, that happens in the mitochondria, so where we saw the pyruvate getting converted into acetyl coenzyme A. Actually it is oxidized into acetyl coenzyme A, giving rise to carbon dioxide plus more of NADH. Now this acetyl coenzyme A keeps on oxidizing so as to release 2 ATP, 6 NADH and 2 FADH. Okay, and then they enter the membrane of the mitochondria, and hence this step number 3, that is electron transport chain, starts. In the electron transport chain, the electron transfers from high energy state to the low energy state. And while doing this, more and more energy which is released by these electrons are captured by this enzyme known as ATP synthase, and hence it forms the ATP. Now students, I have not talked to you about H2O, formation of H2O. The end product is CO2, H2O and ATP. So CO2 you all came to know in second step, lot of CO2 is formed. H2O, this oxygen which is present, okay, it takes or it combines the low energy electrons that which is transported within the membrane of the mitochondria. So this low energy state of electron combines with oxygen, and this oxygen further combines with 2 molecules of hydrogen, and hence water is formed. So that completes your cellular respiration, where C6 H12O6 plus 6O2 give rise to 6 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 6 molecules of water and around 36 to 38 molecules of ATP. Now plants are like benefited by both of the things. It can manufacture their food and also they do the cellular respiration, hence they produce the ATP. So both the things happen in the plant, but human beings only the cellular respiration will happen because we can't perform the photosynthesis. Okay, then wait for my next video, students. Thanks for watching.